Cool. What's up, everybody? Welcome to 94 Feet Raw, another podcast at your door as we do. Trying to keep this as regular as possible as the NBA is now back, the NBA restart, and everyone's checking out the games from Orlando. So, as you know, usually it's Errol and Rodney, but joined with Stephen and Paul as well during the parade. So, going to go around the team or around the squares or the rectangles, and everyone's just going to point themselves out for everyone that kind of needs to know who's who. So, obviously, I'm Patris. Former BBL player. I used to play London Leopards many years ago. But yeah, that's my claim to fame. So I jumped to Errol.
And we see back in the ass. I'm sorry, man. I'm tripping today. But BBL player, legend. What can I say? Check the credentials on the back of the wall. I'm just tripping. Move on.
Go on, Steve.
Stevie O, Stephen O, the gun, Jimmy. No, I'm only joking, but yeah, BBL player, basketball player since 13 years old. Actually went to high school in America with Patrice too. We've had our journey. Played basketball under London Towers umbrella, London Leopards, Newcastle Eagles. So I'm ready to roll, watch the NBA religiously. Watch the same basketball tape every night for like 3 years straight, NBA jam sessions. I'm ready to roll. Let's go.
Cool. Go on, Rods.
Name's right there. Play BBL. Went to college in the States. Won things everywhere. Played. Just having fun, enjoying the game. Yeah, that's it. Really, London Towers, Leopards, Milton Keynes Lions. Yeah, and then Big Joe. You know, helped out with there for a bit.
Big Jeezy.
Club and all the other things there. So, you know, some of this brought all of us lot together. And forward on to Paul.
Yeah, my name's Paul Edwards. I've known these guys for 25, 30 years. Played with these guys at Towers, Hackney Men, etc. Then when these lot were in America, I stayed at home, looked after everyone. I played some D1 for numerous teams. At the moment, I've been coaching junior basketball for Newham Youngbloods for the past 3 years. And about 4 years ago, I think it was, I decided that all of us were old enough to play in the British Masters. So I sent the call out, and we all returned under the umbrella of Joe's boys. So yeah, I'm happy to be on this panel today.
Nice one. Cool.
We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
It's good that everyone's here, man. You know what I mean? Good to catch with Joe. Good to talk about the game that we love. That's kind of paid us our dues, and we paid dues back, man, and stuff like that. So yeah, let's just cut right into it because the time is of the essence, and everyone's got an opinion on what's going on with the NBA, particularly the bubble as it is. I'm not going to go too much to the bubble, but just kind of obviously because the players have just started this week. But you know, just to kind of go around to everyone, what has everyone kind of found the most intriguing thing from their perspective about the bubble? And I'll start with you, Paul, because I'll just do like a reverse.
Yeah. I think it's been very interesting in terms of the teams that want to get something out of it are getting something out of it. In terms of you look at Poland. Poland have played near enough playoff games every game to be where they are. You look at people like the Lakers. The Lakers only really beat one proper team, and that was the Clippers. The Bucks are not where they should be at the moment. You're looking at a lot of teams went into the bubble. A lot of teams have we're already in the playoffs. This uses the pre-season, and I think the results at the first couple of games of the playoffs have shown that a lot of these teams aren't ready to play that next level of basketball.
Yeah.
Cool. What's your thoughts?
Well, you know, when I got the funny look from Errol, when I said last week, when I said I don't think LeBron, I don't think you're going to get an old LeBron. I don't think you're going to get the old LeBron. It's going to be how he carries himself. You know, I see some frailties within a lot of teams. I see a lot of switching off. I see a lot of other things where, as Paul underlined, the fact that they're not ready. You know,
And
they
fitness.
need the Lakers need another ball handler. You can't just get LeBron having 30 or 20 odd assists a game. You know, his game's changed and he's proven how great of a player he is, even in his older years. But you can't get him just having like 15 assists and everyone else has got like 1 or 2 assists. The ball needs to come out of his hands and do things, and the confidence level is Rondo.
Okay.
If I look at you know, I look at how hungry the other teams are. You know, we can carry that in a minute, but I see them guys doing that way. On the East Coast, I see injuries. I see a complacent leader. I would never have bet that Orlando would win a game against these guys. I'd never bet that. I'd never bet that in a million years. And I see, as Paul underlined, the fact there is complacency within them.
So, go on, Steve. So, what you found the most kind of intriguing so far in the bubble?
Yeah, I did have a few things there to say, just coming off the back of what Rodders was saying. And I've kind of thrown all of the games at the start out of the window. The only relevant ones have been to me is of our teams on our bets that we've had, because I know we need legitimate wins. But you have to think, just imagine as players, you're going to a bubble. So it's like you're going to a tournament. There's all kind of, you know, odd things that you need to do. You know, you have to follow all kinds of, you know, orders and regimes that they're running. Now, even though you're going there for basketball becomes secondary for the first week, maybe week and a half, because you're still trying to adjust to things, speaking to your family every day. You're out of your usual routine. So I'm not really judging any of these teams or players really on these 8 games. Like I said, I'm not going to look at it and think about, oh, the playoffs, because when I'm looking at the bubble and as a player, I remember seeing different players go crazy in practice. Like I always joke and say, I remember Paul Deppish when I was playing for Towers going against James Hamilton. Like those guys must have hit 10 threes back to back battling in practice. Now in a game, are they going to be able to do that? Maybe Paul, you know, not James. But what my point is in that is that people come out of themselves when there's not the crowd there, or there's not necessarily the pressure. And I think with the bubble, the way it's run, it's allowed a lot of players, maybe lower tier players, who have got something to prove, just like we mentioned with Paul was mentioning with teams that have got things to prove. You have to remember there's guys coming in there where their life is just basketball, like it is in the bubble right now. Like they've been trying to make it. They're telling their families, like, listen, babe, I'm going away. I'm away for 2 weeks in training camp trying to make it. Now, when you see those players in there, that's why you're seeing an eruption of a lot of these guys having bigger games, you know, and really playing. So when it comes to a team overall aspect, there's certain teams I look at, you know, and say, okay, they're going to be struggling going into the playoffs, but I don't like to really judge them because it's different. And just like Rodney relayed to about Milwaukee and Orlando, and you know, I've had a joke, you know, off air with Errol about that. Like they probably won't win another game, Orlando, possibly, but I'm not going to judge it. Oh wow, they beat Milwaukee, because all that means is a couple of guys in Milwaukee had off games. We're looking at Antetokounmpo, we're looking at the bigger stars, like for LA, we're looking at LeBron, we're looking at, you know, these guys, and we're saying, man, going into the playoffs, boy, that don't look good. But come on, you know, let's look 2 years ago when LeBron was in Cleveland in that situation, and no one really expects him to go anywhere he takes over. So I'm looking at, once these playoffs start, or, you know, obviously we've been through the first round, which we discussed, I think that's when I'm going to really make a judgment, because right now, we're just playing, you know, we're playing tournament ball, it's rec ball. The coach is trying to be on you and say, you know, come on, guys, we need to really focus and get our team together. But until that realization hits you, when you look up at the score in game 2 and you realize, man, we're down 10, about to go 2-0 down. Now we're going to see players, or maybe even before that point, it could be, you know, first quarter deficit, and you think, hold on, this is the playoffs, there's a chance to win a championship. I think the reality will kick in. We'll start to see, you know, the real stream of the team. So I think that's what I've taken from it. I've taken it as like extended preseason. I'm not judging anybody on anything, and I'm just looking forward to the playoffs start.
Okay, interesting take. Errol, what's your kind of opinion? Kind of just quickly on the
because it kind of ties both Stephen and Paul's point, because yeah, it's an extended preseason, even though they had a few games before the actual bubble game started. But certain teams that had so much to play for, they're going to be able to create more momentum leading in. Just kind of like how you would, you know, prep yourself for a regular season, for the end of the regular season, coming out of the All-Star break. you know, getting certain players rested, but you're fine-tuning your systems. And I think that some of the teams that were in more high-pressure games, you know, had more to play for, you know, such as a Portland. You know, I think they're more fine-tuned. I think that's one aspect of it that's going to allow them to really get themselves, you know, in a state and in a position that when it comes to a climactic stage against the Lakers in this first round, I think they're going to be ready. I'm not saying they're going to win the games, but they've proven that they're ready to take the big shots. They've proven that they're ready, you know, to compete on that level because they've been doing it for the last several games. That's a big factor. And my other takeaway is, I just thought about this last night when I was watching Dallas, in terms of the X factor you don't consider sometimes is, because they are in a bubble environment, how close are you as teammates? You know, and we don't know all the behind the scenes stuff. And it kind of relates, like if you're older, you know, like LeBron, and you've got a family and you've got a wife and kids, you know, you've always got that draw, you know, going back to you, no matter how much you try to isolate yourself. But if you're younger, you're probably going to have less of that. And it's going to be more of like a frat house type of scenario. And I just say that because I remember listening to the broadcast last night with Dallas, and they were talking about, you know, how close they are, how much they hang out outside the court. And I think that will directly translate as well into the harmony and, you know, and how well they play.
But wouldn't everybody do that now, Ree? I mean, you know, I think all of them do that now because they've got no choice.
Yeah.
I think each other.
Yeah, go on.
Not everyone gets along though. I'm just saying, like, there's always personalities within any particular team. I don't know. I'm just simply stating that those teams that have got really good camaraderie and really good harmony, you know, a lot of that is going to translate into their play and how they deal with adversity when it pops up.
Yeah, I'll go out on a whim though, E, and tell you straight away that even from your assessment from watching Dallas, or, you know, whatever you heard, you can see it. You can see how the energy is with Dallas, and you can see how the energy is with Lakers or another team, for instance, and you can try and fake it. Yeah, high five, yeah. But in terms of really seeing it, you guys know from being on the team when it's real and from a team when you're trying to make it. And it's plain.
I mean, it's quite interesting. I've been watching. It's happened. You just happened to be doing a vlog. I've been watching some JaVale McGee's his video logs of being in the bubble. And for me, it was just not so I'm watching JaVale. It was a case of me seeing what it's actually like for them guys in that bubble. What they've got to do when they wake up, they've got an app on their phone that's got to take their temperature. They then go somewhere before they even work out or eat. They've got to have their COVID test. Then once they've had their COVID test, they go and eat. And then you can eat out, and they show you like the restaurant where it's all the food's there. Or if they've ordered food, it's in a nice little oven for them. They come and they eat. And then you go and see them. They go and work out. They get tested again. They go and get massages. They get tested again. And it's almost as if you are living the life almost of a perfect athlete. You're just there. You get up, you train, you play, and you chill. What in the vlog is obviously shows you a lot of the behind the back stuff. It also shows you who he rolls with. He's rolling with Danny Green, Caruso. He's rolling with the younger guys. In the videos, you never see him chat with LeBron. There's a couple of bits of AD and stuff. But it's really interesting to see how the dynamic works in that bubble and how people get on, and you know, and then he's doing video chats with his wife and his kids and stuff. So that, you know, it's just like us. It's just everyday life, but they're in such a cocooned state that you can't, you know, after the game you don't go home. You go back to your hotel room, and you know, you obviously talk to your boys like this as well.
Okay,
you know,
so
one thing, you know that.
Sorry,
you know that the Utah, Denver, them two guys are in the same hotel on two different floors.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying.
I imagine it's close. It's closer all around.
That's why I was saying. You kind of social. No, they've put it so that in the seedings.
The closest,
the top
so
seedings.
So at the start, all the better teams were in the better hotels.
Better hotels, yeah. So those guys got the early seedings. As soon as people started leaving, they start then condensing the bubble to put them into a couple of hotels. So as soon as you get to the last game, you're like the finals. You're just in one hotel, and you'll have. But that's going to change because they're talking about bringing in the other 8 teams that haven't played.
Yeah.
They're looking about bringing
but
him into the bubble as well. If they're going to bring him in, they're not going to allow him to leave.
I think that's potential. I think that's after the horse has bolted. To be perfectly honest, I mean, you're having what's classed as your championship, and then you're going to invite the other teams that never made it to play for what? For nothing, because you got
come in and stay and be part of it. It's not they've got nothing to play for. So he's coming into the bubble. Perhaps they could do some pre-season. Perhaps they could play some games. Perhaps they could do anything else. But it's more giving them the opportunity to be in that bubble, to see the environment, because you never know what's going to happen come the new season.
Sure.
Yeah. Hey,
just
start moving that way.
Yeah, no, just kind of moving along, and talking about the bubble as well.
Definitely. Keep us going, P. Keep us going.
But what about the effect they had on Memphis? Because they had a losing streak when they came in. They barely made the play-in, and obviously,
So obviously Memphis was the team that I had in our bet. Now it burnt me, man. It burnt me. I mean, I'm watching. It proper burnt me, man. So I'm like, yeah, I'm picking them. You know, potential rookie of the year. You got a really young team, but the problem about being a young team is the ball is in the hands of your rookie point guard. It's different if you had like a veteran point guard and your rookie of the year was going to be your shooting guard or your small forward or your power forward, because he's not going to get that initial touch. He's your point guard. He's the point guard of your franchise for the next however many years, and he's in this brand new environment. He's just probably got used to playing in the NBA, and it's suddenly, here we go, lads, we're going to play in this bubble, and here we go. No crowd, nothing. It's, you know, I've only played like 60 games. I'm still a rookie. I'm still learning what I'm doing, and now I'm playing in a total foreign environment. To be perfectly honest, the playing game was probably the best game they've actually played.
Yeah, it was good.
The playing game, you know, even though they'd lost Jaren Jackson, some other guys stepped up. Dylan Brooks was shooting the lights out, and I thought, you know what, they did all right. But as we said before, the Blazers were just on a different level entirely, and they're
a different team. The Blazers are a different team.
Yeah, well, they're the Blazers. The Blazers are a vet team. The Blazers are perennial. You know, they're in the playoffs near enough every year.
Because in the conference finals last year.
Oh, here we go.
How dare you guys try and talk about my Blazers, baby? I don't even.
Well, yeah, they're gonna be.
Shine. That's my money, Roddy. That's my money. No, I'm joking. But no, I got to talk about those Blazers because that's my team. I picked them, and I picked them purposely, obviously, because we've all talked about that was a team that had purpose going in, and they also had Damian Lillard, CJ McCulloch, and Melo. And to me, that was what I was looking at. But these guys, when I was saying that people have to realize that they're actually in something to win a championship, like those top tier teams that were already in the playoffs, they knew it. But the Blazers coming in, like Dame said, just give me a chance. I'm not coming there for no reason. You give me a chance, I'll come. So he was already in playoff mode. And Dame is a kind of leader that he's leading by example. He's not really one of them guys to be shouting at a guy, come on, we got to do it. He's out there doing his thing. So you have no choice to follow. But also what you have to remember, because we talk about CJ, Dame, obviously we've got to talk about Melo. And, I was talking to Errol about this the other day. You have to remember, Melo came in the same year as Bron. He's had all this rocky road. He's had this, that, and the other. Now he sees himself in a position like, hold on a minute. I'm going against these guys. I've got a chance to go against these guys and actually grab a chip in the bubble and polish up my career. So going against Memphis, I did think to myself, like, man, all these wins and they had to play to get into that and the emotional roller coaster, I thought they'd be emotionally tired. And I thought, boy, you know what? They may lose that first game and have to play that second game for a playoff. And we all know once you get to that one game, it's here or there. But one thing I was happy, I won't say happy about, but one thing I was looking at Memphis and I thought, you watching Memphis through the season, they had a good core of youngsters that played well together and carried the load. Although we saw a lot of Ja Morant being rookie of the year status, you have to think Jared Jackson was out there, and he's the kind of guy that's going to take some of that load, take some of that bark, and give some of that bark to the team. So when he went out, I think that there was an adjustment. Other people stepped up. Dylan Brooks, was hitting some big shots, but I think that throws off the chemistry of the team, or the energy that they had that was allowing them to beat teams in the regular season, although their talent pool is not the highest. And I think when they went into this bubble now, and then even into the playoff, the play-in game, I think they were trying to find something and trying to give individuals still their chance to shine. But, you know, hey, Portland, last point I'm going to say about them is, listen, watch that bubble. Watch what it comes down to in the fourth quarter, whether it be LeBron, whether it be Paul George, whether it be Kawhi. It's going down to the isolation play. When they're running that little slide pick at the top, you're going to get a high elbow or free, and everybody's else on the other side. And what two better players, and I'll say what one better player, because CJ right now, if you're a two guard and you ain't watching CJ out there, you don't know no basketball, because there's no way that anybody on that Memphis team could hold him. And getting into the playoffs, listen, watch out for Portland for that same reason.
There's no one else. LA that
sorry, I also think as well, Nurkic is the X factor for Portland.
Oh man,
coming back, he played. He played well. He now gives them a bit more defensive rebound, the odd offensive rebound every now and again, and he chipped in that playing game with obviously some big points.
Massive game.
Especially after the news he'd found out his granddad died as well. So he played everything in that game to honour her.
Okay. Cool. What's up, guys? Let's get into it, man. Let's talk about the playoffs and as they're kicking in and stuff like that. Obviously, everyone's talking about Portland. You know, their first game over the Lakers and stuff. I know you've got the LA Lakers. So, kind of, what's your opinion?
Well, during the wager, there's two things. Obviously, the bet is one thing. But as a basketball player, and if I'm looking at it from a neutral perspective, you can go back and listen to what was said on the last podcast. For me, I don't think LeBron himself has got enough to do it all by himself. I don't think that at all.
Does everyone agree with what they're saying?
I think that they need to have, and I don't mean he can't do it all by himself. He's not 5 years younger, where you just need a couple of perimeter players to guard their perimeter players, and LeBron will do everything that he does. That's not the stage of his career right now. So you need to have other ball handlers and people that don't have to that can create stuff and do stuff. You know, everyone was talking about Dion Waiters coming into the fold and J.R. Smith 1 minute and no play whatsoever. So that indicates that, and LeBron had a load of assists and he's great for his personal accolades, but it doesn't match.
So
it doesn't match what's there.
So if you were a coach, what would you do? You know, what's your strategy?
The reality of it is the only thing that you can do is hope for Rondo to come back and play.
Yeah.
Rondo's a savior.
Because and the reason why I'm saying that is because LeBron can't play every minute of the whole game.
Sure.
So when you've got a point guard that can run the show, the reason why I say Rondo is the key is because he's played with Anthony New Orleans, and he'll get Pope some easy layups. He'll get some stuff in transition. He'll get other people in. He'll run the show like that, which then gives LeBron the time to rest on offense and only get in when he needs to do that.
You're not sounding too confident, though. You feel like if they don't get,
it's not I don't sound too confident. I can't come to rushed opinions based on one playoff game.
Okay.
Because this is going to go a number of games.
Okay.
So I can't really sit there and say that like that.
LeBron's dirty little secret, which is not really a dirty little secret, but he's so phenomenal over the last 17 years of maintaining such a high standard and he's always so physically superior to everyone. I'm not just saying his natural gifts, but in terms of his shape and his just how he recovers after injury and so on and so forth, that any decline is so imperceptible because you're watching him all the time.
Yeah.
So I watched some highlights from, I think it's 2011 Miami, and he just looks so different. He's so dynamic. His movements are so effortless when he's going to the hole, and when you can compare and contrast it to today, you can see the decline. You understand? But when you compare like last year and the year before and so on, it's not so obvious to see. But he has declined, absolutely. And I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast with Raja Bell, and Raja Bell pointed out, how his inability to just get past that, that shoulder past that initial defender. to really draw the defense in and drive and create those passing lanes. He's not doing that as much at all. So what say that again?
Go on, I'll jump in afterwards.
So what that now creates is a situation where you've got an imbalanced team. LeBron's so calculating at times that it can almost be mechanical sometimes, the way they're doing certain things, because his teams run through him so much, and that's been proven, past years where teams have collapsed after he's left because the DNA of the team becomes him. And then when you've got these guys that are not dynamic, they're not making shots, the whole house of cards just collapses, So I think that with a team like LA, it's bottom line, if they just don't find their shooting touch of multiple people, they're going to be out in the first round. It's going to happen. Blazers can beat them, and they will beat them if they don't find that shooting touch in soon. If they find a shooting touch in the balance, everything will change. The whole energy of the team will change. Things will become easier for Davis. Davis will start looking like a superstar again because the burden won't be on him. At the moment, to me, I question, not necessarily I question his toughness. I'm not going to judge a man's character like that. But you've seen, like, when the stakes are high, he's not stepping up and just being that person to demand the ball and really take the team home. So,
yeah. Oh, sorry, Rod, were you going to chime in?
No, all I was going to say is in regards to it, and that's why I was saying that Rondo is so important for him, because he's that person that takes that will allow other players to have a little bit of shine, as it were. Whenever I watch, go on.
It's definitely interesting. Sorry, it's definitely interesting when you see, you look at LeBron now, as Errol was saying, like the gradual declines. And it seems like he's more happy now in trying to get double-figure assists every game instead of getting.
Well, that's the position he's playing in.
Instead of getting points, and that's and at the end of the day, it's not AD's team yet. It's still LeBron's team. And historically, you see AD go missing in fourth quarters. You can't score 21 points in the first half and only then score 7 points in the second half, expecting to be the lead, the go-to guy. But your go-to guy is the guy making the passes. So who's going to score the points? Exactly. And that's the problem. Well, at some point, LeBron has to go, you know what? Come on, man. Let's jump on my back again. Let's go. Let's get this.
The only way that can work out is if offensively he doesn't pound the hell out of the ball and have it under him all the time. So he's got to go to somebody else.
And that's the problem.
Yeah. And that person, unfortunately, is Rondo. Go on, Steve.
So, Steve, from a Portland perspective, what's your take?
Yeah, I knew I was going to jump on about the Portland side. You know what it is? I have to defend my boy LBJ because, when we were picking these teams and I laughed with Errol when he picked the Clippers and not the Lakers, because I know how love of that dude is like, it's high. So to hear decline and this and that, but I'm going to just quickly touch on what Errol said, yeah? So we look at LeBron in Miami, okay? We look at LeBron in Cleveland. Carried those teams, went to the finals how many times? You knew, okay, it's time. Now, coming to the Lakers, we saw last year, LeBron ain't going to come there and be, even though he hurt his groin or whatever, even when he came back and said, right, I'm going to turn it on. LeBron ain't going to be that LeBron. But what LeBron is going to be is a slowed down LeBron with some sharp skills, hence his stat line of those assists. If you remember when they first came together and AD and LeBron were playing together, what was happening? Every assist LeBron was throwing was to AD. He was trying to get him in there. Here, man, it's yours. Here, man, look, get going. Here, man. Here, man. Until it was even criticized on talk shows to say, like, hey, he's just trying to feed him too much. What's happening with the Lakers offense? And now they've gone somewhere else. But when they're going somewhere else, and this is my problem with AD, and this is what is going to hinder the team. If you're taking jumpers from outside and you're not causing a double team, LeBron is not going to be able to take a defense when they're all looking at him from the top or just off a normal pick and roll. But when he will be able to take a defense is when it skips round off a double team and now he's caught with somebody running at him. Any one of us old bastards will be able to beat someone when they're running at us with one jab step and go the other way. Now he can go into creation mode. It's not even about his speed. You look at him compared to Luka Doncic. They're playing at the same speed. They're more or less the same level. And he's successful at that. So I'm not even going to put any weight on LeBron. Even the guys hitting shots. At the end of the day, I can see Coach Vogel, he's tried to play his guys that rode with him during the season. But there's been a conversation. You watch game 2. There's been a conversation. Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith, big boys are getting off the bench, if you know what I'm saying. It's not going to be Caruso, even to the point of other light-skinned Jim. I can't even remember his name.
Kuzma.
Like, You're putting weight on these guys. And what I'm saying is they're not necessarily ready. And I'm telling you, Waiters and J.R. Smith are like, yo, coach, I know what you're trying to do, but hey, and LeBron's going to be over there like, hey, bring him in. But sorry to add on that, but Portland, can I go on to Portland, P, or you want to?
No. Jump onto Portland. Let's talk about it. You know,
I'll just touch it. I'll just touch it because I was just saying about them. Watching that game and watching the game against Memphis and then watching the game against LA in game one, they're playing on high emotion. Yeah, they're okay coached, but a lot of their shots, like I said, are coming from gamble shots. So Lillard's hitting them from 35, 40 feet. Great. You know what I'm saying? When they don't go in, okay, what's going to happen? CJ's going. Melo, you know, they've got Grant shooting well. But like I was reflecting to the Lakers, this has to come off some type of penetration to cause a disarray in the defense, because it's only maybe CJ who's going to break someone down solely one-on-one. Dame usually operates off a pick and roll. And I'm worried about CJ. I'm just going to touch on this point and then let some other people cover Portland. But when you have an injury, you can compensate for that injury and you can hold it down. But what happens is when the game gets to another level of competition, you can't do both. So what you do is you just go to your competition and turn off that brain part that's holding your back down and stopping you from doing movements that's going to hurt you. And that's what I'm worried about CJ, is that he's getting in the groove and getting into that competition where I'm thinking, yo, man, you may have to sit out a couple of games. And then I'm worried about Portland, because you can see they're doubling Dame high. Yeah. And that's where the success came from. Granted, Nurkic had a great game. Is he going to do that again? Okay. But when you double, they throw it to him and then it goes to CJ. Now you're in trouble. It goes to Melo, it's a jump shot. It goes to Grant, it's a jump shot. So that's what I'm a bit worried about with Portland, but they've got the energy. Lakers are struggling a bit. I know adjustments are going to be made, but I do still worry about the way that Portland get their buckets and the way that they struggle to get stopped sometimes if a team is being efficient after it.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. And I think playing the two big men, I'm not sure if there's a strategy that will work long term as well with Whiteside and Nurkic, but you know, they've got one game, you know, so let's see what happens.
It will work against the Lakers. So you know.
Yeah, it's working well. Let's see tonight.
I think that was thrown out there because they had both of them playing such good games. Because obviously Nurkic playing when he rested, and Whiteside came out and was impactful. And I think the coach was in the situation of, man, I don't even want to sub him out for him. So I think he rolled the dice on that and played them, probably like Errol was saying, for trial for the Clippers or for the Lakers, you know, further down. But I'm not sure that will be a constant rotation for them.
Okay. Well, we spoke about Doncic playing a bit like LeBron. Obviously, Dallas tied up with the Clippers and stuff. Errol, I think that's your team. Who's got the Clippers?
Me.
You've got the Clippers. And you've got Dallas as well.
I'm representing the Clippers.
No, Dallas is just my team.
So go through it slowly, because obviously we talked about chemistry, that Dallas probably have got a bit better than the Clippers. But what can the Clippers do to kind of show that they're worthy of like the top spot at the moment to get back into it?
So with the Clippers, to me, they're still rounding up into form, into shape, into continuity. They've had so many people injured throughout the year. You know, it's just about pieces coming together, and hopefully they don't have setbacks in terms of like what happened with Pat Bev. You know, he had like a strained calf or something like that. I can't remember, but it's relatively minor. But as long as they don't have too many setbacks like that, that game one, they came out with such ferocity on the defensive end. Three-headed monster, you know, Beverly, Paul George, Kawhi, and they unsettled Luka, yeah? And the genius of Luka is that you could just see him gradually make adjustments, and he was still making mistakes throughout the game. He had 11 turnovers that first game. But you contrast that with the first half last night, and I don't know how much it's got to do with Pat Beverly not being in, because Pat Beverly defensively is a big factor, and just that added dimension just changes a lot.
It had a lot to do with Boban as well.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to that. But in terms of what they can't, to me, they couldn't do nothing with Luka. He's just got so many tricks in his bag. He's got so many ways to create offense. The main way they're going to do it is just straight double teaming and getting the ball out of his hands early, just like a la James Harden when some teams do it. You know, so you know, just not to dominate this part of the conversation, but for me, in terms of adjustments, I think they need their full complement, including Pat Beverley, and really go out hard and use their depth and their rotations to keep constant pressure on him and wear him down over time, because he's not the sort of guy where he will take it as an egotistical challenge where you're doubling him and he's going to try and beat you. No, he's just going to take his time. He's going to dime these open mans. They're going to keep draining threes because they're an unbelievable shooting team.
Cool. All right, man. So, Paul, you've got the Nuggets, and obviously they won the first game. What's the second game? But, you know, I think, how do you kind of envisage them second on for the rest of the season?
If you was a Nuggets fan, I think you potentially could be slightly worried. I mean, they played, so they already played Utah already in the bubble. We went to double overtime. Denver couldn't put them away, The reason why Denver can't put them away is because Denver have got no guards and Utah have no bigs. So it's kind of balancing out. You've got Gary Harris and Will Barton, like two starters gone. So now the Nuggets offense revolves around running 4 high, horn sets. You pass the ball to Jokic, and then two are just cutting back doors, setting back doors, getting little bounce passes, easy baskets. Now they're not there. You're now bringing in the lineup, Jelani Grant, 6'8". You're bringing in Michael Porter Jr., 6'10". Grant is a slasher. He's a small forward, stroke power forward. He's going to be that kind of big. Michael Porter don't drive to the basket. He just wants to shoot threes. So now the offense has completely changed. So you watch the last couple of games we've been playing. Everything's a high pick and roll, continuous pick and roll. So everyone's standing still. And defensively, it's easy to defend someone who's just standing still. There's no movement, no rotation. Then on the flip side,
Gobert.
And then now you've got the Gobert factor. Whatever his offensive frailties are defensively, he's a two-time defensive player of the year. So now they're kind of getting what you're running that slow pick and roll. You're driving in the middle. Gobert standing there, deflecting shots, causing bad passes. And on the flip side, because Denver have got no guards, they can't defend against. Mitchell. And he drops the third highest playoff points ever, drops 57. Then in the second game, they're thinking, okay, he's only got 9 at the half, and then he come out and hit 4. I think it was like 4 straight threes, and ended up with 35. And I think this series is going to probably go 7. It's going to go 7 because it's a 4 v 5 seed. Them matchups are always going to be tough.
Yeah.
Whoever's going to be, in the old days of NBA before the bubble, if you was the 4th seed, you had the extra home game, and that was the only thing that kind of would have saved you in a 7-game series. I don't know. This is gonna go 7.
So with Conley potentially coming back, what kind of factor will he be?
Again, it's gonna be another small guard that a 6'8", 6'10" guy is gonna have to try and chase around the perimeter, and you've got Ingles on the other side who's not exactly blessed with athletic talent, but has his basketball IQ that he knows he can get. He knows his angles. He can get to that spot. Yeah. He's always going to shoot that fade. He's going to come off the pick and roll and then not go. He's going to fade and slide to the corner, hit that free. It's going to be literally. I think it's going to be like that. You toss a coin, and whoever wins is going to win. And that's.
I think a big factor is. I think a big factor is what Errol touched on. I was saying as well is that team unity, man. It's going to come down to when shit is tight. When it's tight down the stretch, which one of them teams are closest to pull it out the bag. Now they both look close.
And you can see the way the Jokic plays. He wants to be that team player. He wants to be the guy that he's the point center, gets the rebound, and he's gone and whatever. But then sometimes you can see him. He's like, man, I've got to try and do something. Like the games the games, I think they'd only won like 3 games in the bubble. 2 of them went to overtime. One was OKC and the other one was the Utah, the double overtime game. In both of them games, he literally took over, especially in the OKC game, he took over offensively. Instead of being passing, it's like, you know what? You mans are done. Let me go to work. And he went to work and got him the win. He probably needs to do that again. Yeah. He probably have to do game 3. He's going to have to come out with something different because, Gobert is just long and gangly. His hands are everywhere. He's trying to, and in the end, you just got to kind of almost like drive at his chest and just throw something up and see if it goes in.
So out of 7, what are you giving? So you're saying who's going to win? Basically, who's going to win in your eyes?
Listen, obviously, because I'm trying to get money out of Denver, so I'm going 4-3.
Okay. Interesting.
Can I just speak quickly on Gobert?
Go on.
I was like, for any type of moderately skilled rim running athletic type center of the type that we've got in the game today, you know, Gobert he's such a good example to watch. Like, and he just works so hard. He works so hard for the team. When you watch him, just watch what he does as far as getting his teammates open, flashing for cuts, creating space when he's flashing for cuts. We know what he does on the defensive end. But just watching him closely last night, I was so impressed. He's just constant motion, constant movement helping the team. And it really reflects, you know, in today's game when if you lack, you know, those type of offensive polish like an Embiid or your Jokic, how you can still be so valuable to your team. You know, if you're just willing to just work hard and bring that energy.
Fundamentals and that stuff, though, man. It's not coincidence that those guys are from Europe and outside of the States in terms of what's looked at, because you know cuts and stuff like that. That's our foundation. You know what I'm saying? You grow up in America, you're going to be dilly and shoot pull-up jumpers.
Cool. I'm just going to jump conferences at a minute and just talk Bucks and Magic, just because there's a bit of an upset kind of with the Magic and stuff like that, and just because I think we always talk about Giannis as the kind of potential MVP, and Rod, I know you're the Magic, aren't you, Rod?
Oh,
yep.
Yeah,
Home court advantage. The only thing that they actually did the whole thing. Yeah, they got their one game. I said that I picked the 3 teams I picked. The reason why I chose I picked one from the East Coast, one from the West Coast, and my thingy was hoping that they would do something decent because it was home court. The only time I'm seeing anything is Markel Fultz putting his work in right now. He's putting his work in. He hasn't got a broken shot. He's got his confidence back, and he's at home. I thought that this would be more evident during the 8 games that they were playing, rather than it playing against this team here. The reason why they're doing so well, they match up with the other wing players. So Antetokounmpo will get his, but the rest of the wing players that are on Orlando can physically keep up with the rest of the wing players that Milwaukee have got. Yeah, Terrence Ross. He's an athlete out of his backside. He's an athlete that can jump out of the gym. And the way he moves, the way he cuts. Pardon?
They were hot the whole game, though.
And he'll just keep on going. He'll just keep on going. He'll keep on going. And then you've got the old guard that used to be there years ago. The last time they got to the NBA Finals, he's coming off the bench. Augustine.
DJ.
So
I was going to say he runs a good team.
He'll be able to give him a little bit more of encouragement. But you know, is it going to be another thing where Milwaukee end up slipping, making that wrong mistake and then end up slipping again or losing? Did I expect them to win 4-0? Yeah. So
you're basically saying it was just a lucky game?
No, I think that looking at it at second glance, as I said, the excluding Antetokounmpo, the rest of Orlando Magic have those athletes at 3, 4, and 2. Those positions that will just go and go and go. And where Milwaukee has a good team, they're known for their defense. There's a lot of athletic talent, and the bench comes on and they play that way. But I still expect the supposedly crowned MVP to lead his team to beat Orlando.
So the Bucks, I read somewhere, the Bucks are 9-16 when there's a double-digit deficit in a game. So it means they're always playing, they're always ahead, they're always surging ahead. They're not a team that can come back from being down double digits. They crumble. They want to shoot like Giannis just wants to stand at the top of the key and shoot threes. If it goes in, we're on a roll. If he's missing, and you see like Middleton didn't show up. Bledsoe wasn't there. And it's true what Rod said. This again, we hark back to what life in the bubble's like. Milwaukee came with a plan. It's like, we get these games out of the way and then we're ready to roll. But it's a different environment. It's a different environment. If they were still playing a regular NBA season, they potentially might have even got to 60. They might have even got to 60 wins if the schedule was still there. So, and that was being at home. You know, there was one reporter saying that when they walked off the game, you could hear some of the players saying, "Oh, I wish we could have a home crowd." Some, you know, and it seems like it's already their mind games already started. Now it's literally a level playing field. It's who are the best teams are going to play, and it don't matter now that, you know, the problem is you've got the 36 best referees supposedly in that bubble. So
I'm just going to touch on that.
As an East Coast team, I'm going West Coast. I might see that referee only 6-7 times a year, depending on like in the cities and stuff. But now I could see that referee quite a few games. Yeah. And now he's at, you know, the amount of offensive fouls that I've seen being called, where like they're leaning now on the screens and there's moving screens. They're like really clamping tight on that. And a lot of these teams, you know, just run pick and roll. They run pick and rolls. They're running stuff to come off screens, and their whole movement is getting out of whack when the referee goes, "Yeah, that's an offensive foul. Let's go. Get the balls going the other way." And we've lost.
Referees are under less pressure. I think they covered that on TV in terms of like, you know, even with the crowd noise, that pressure, but also them being able to be more tuned in to the call and not manipulated by like crowd noise and the arena pressure.
Obviously, going back to the original question, I think obviously the Bucks will win, but I think potentially this is that wake up call that they needed, thinking that they was going to be able to glide through the East. You know, because probably the bottom bracket is probably harder than the top bracket. So they're probably thinking they could probably breeze through. They'll play
Miami own them during the regular season, Paul.
Well, then that's
Miami own Milwaukee during the regular season.
So in fairness, then this is probably going to be their best test for them to be ready to play the next round. I reckon he'll probably go 6.
Interesting. Okay.
But let's just quickly, is Giannis then, looking at this, is he the most important player? Because Middleton.
It's never been.
I'm whispering it, Middleton, because where you at? I don't even really watch the game properly. But my point is, if you're doubling Giannis, that's why we got you boys there.
Well, they normally run pick and rolls with Middleton. They normally run other things with Middleton.
But the reality
the reality is he's a glorified. He's a second best player on the best team in the league. That's why he's getting.
This is what I'm saying.
He's getting all-star accolades.
When that double exactly. So when double team comes out of there, swing.
No, but sometimes the swing's not coming to him. The swing's going to the other players, the other role players that relish that bench movement.
If you're a good coach, though, and just looking at the NBA with the technicalities, when those doubles come, those coaches know where to position players so that ball is able to come to them, because there's doubles that are going to come from the baseline, going to come from the top. I know that's a bit technical in a way, but Coach Barty's a good coach. So, he's putting these guys in position. Obviously, he knows they're going to double Giannis. You can't not. So, I'm just wondering, is he the biggest player of the series? I don't know.
You know the issue with Middleton as well is that in the Bucks system, he almost just becomes another piece of the system instead of being, no, I'm the second best player. You know what I mean? He put up like 12 shots that in game one. Like, you're like 4 for 12. Like, if you're the all-star, they're paying you this big contract. You not that person.
Can't find his own shotty.
This is my point.
Find his own shot. But then you pull it in your face.
Then you just become a system player, and you get the same amount of shots as Eric Bledsoe, and you get the same amount of shots as George Hill and Brooke Lopez, and so on and so forth. You understand? Then it kind of devalue. Well, does it devalue you, or is that who you are? You just get paid.
That's who he is. Like Rodney said, the reason he's an all-star is because he's the second best player on the best team.
In the East.
I think in the East. I reckon Brooke Lopez will be a bigger factor for that team. In terms, both of the Lopez brothers, because you double and you can kick out, but you double and you can also dump down.
If you look at the way the Bucks play, they never honour the post anyway.
No, they don't play.
They never enter the post. So what's the point of having them on there?
Old school basketball, and they don't have it. They have 5 out.
Yeah.
And Antetokounmpo's trying to get things off the break.
Yeah.
And if it's a pick and roll, it's with Antetokounmpo and a point guard. And then sometimes the basketball plays is forced on Middleton. Forced other players to do things.
Brooke Lopez is a hell of a low post player.
I know, but he's shooting threes, Errol.
Yeah, I know. This is my point. This is my point. Listen, when you get into the half court and things become difficult and it's stale and slow down, I'm just saying they've got more versatility that they could be using, such as Brooke Lopez post game. But when you got Giannis that can't hit consistently from outside, then maybe that's not your game plan. Because if Giannis was stroked from outside, it could give you a different look that you could now play. But
all right, well, let's see what game 2 brings, guys. Let's see what game 2 brings. Let's jump on quickly to the Sixers and the Celtics, because obviously the Sixers lost Ben Simmons and stuff. But the Celtics have lost Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, but
So-
that don't mean anything.
That don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing.
That don't mean anything. They lost him 2 seasons ago, and then man lost to LeBron in the final.
So Errol, what is going on with the Sixers?
so when you've got a dominant big man who is your best player, yeah, you naturally want to get them the ball, and there's different ways that you can build around those types of superstar players. Like if you're fortunate to have like a secondary wing superstar like Magic, Kobe, Dwayne Wade, then those two, if that person inside is, like a Kareem or a Shaq who's just going to kill down low, then you can fill out the rest of the squad, as Shaq says, with the others and, capable role players that fill certain roles, yeah? But if you don't have that secondary type of player, then you've got to have a really balanced squad around your big man, kind of like how Houston was in the early 90s with Kenny Smith and Vernon Maxwell, and those guys, Clyde Drexler and those guys, was able to build a kind of, balanced team around Akeem that did, with the players that did certain roles. Same thing with New York, with Patrick Ewing, back in the day. Players knew their roles and they did what they had to do. So with the Sixers at the moment, they don't have any type of floor general. It weren't even Ben Simmons when he was on the team. Go into that all day long with his inability or his refusal to shoot. But at the moment, it's just got no floor general. And as a big man, it's so easy when you've got a floor general that just directs traffic, shifts the defense around, gets you in position where you can just catch the ball, you can move and do your thing. And they haven't got that. They haven't got that out there. So he becomes now every point, and he played really good or relatively good the last particular game. But as you can see, it's easy to collapse down on a dominant big man. And if you haven't got that talent on the outside or you haven't got that movement and you've got people like Tobias Harris who's not stepping up, who's not putting shots in, you've got people like Al Horford who just was an ill fit for the team in the first place. You've got people like Shake Milton who got the starting job off of a couple good games before lockdown when he hit some threes. If those games never happened, they would never have thought of moving him.
Was he playing in the last game, Ian? I'll just quickly chime in. Was he playing or was he suspended, right?
Shake Milton.
I don't think he was playing last game.
Suspended to detriment to the team or something that happened in the bubble? Was that?
I don't think he was.
That was dude from Miami. That was Kendrick Nunn. My bad.
No, I don't think he was playing. I don't think he was on the court as much, Steve. When I watched the game, I saw a lot of
Shake Milton played 29 minutes.
Oh, he did?
Okay, he played. Yeah, I'm thinking of dude from Miami.
Listen,
on the other...
He's a young player. I'm not even putting it on him. I'm putting it on the coach, who just doesn't seem to have a second game plan. I'm putting it on the GM, Elton Brand, who put together this ill-constructed team of pieces that don't effectively fit. Then obviously they've had some unfortunate things with Ben Simmons going out. But this looks like a team that is going to get swept.
Errol, I'm just going to ask you a question. I'm not ask you a question, but I believe, you're right with what you're saying. The floor general, I think it's more a case of just a perimeter-based point guard, because they give Ben Simmons the ball and he looks to just push the ball and run and cut and do everything. And to get the best out of Joel Embiid, you've got to give him the ball and let him go to work. And I think what you see at the beginning of the game is they give him that ball to go to work, and then it's like, okay, we're not going to go back to him again. Or Embiid, instead of, because he gets a little bump away from the block, he now stands on the three-point line. He now turns into a perimeter player. And a lot of the basketball they play is 5 out. When you've got someone as talented as Joel Embiid, you can go 1 in and 4 out, and then cut and do other bits and pieces. But they're not doing that. They're not accommodating him like that.
The thing with Joel Embiid as well is he's not the best passer. He's not the best creator.
No, he's not.
He's not at all. Trust me. And that was an element of Shaq's game that was, to me, really, really undervalued. Shaq was a tremendous facilitator from the low post. And when and this is one of the key things that stood out to me this week, looking at the difference between Embiid and Jokic. The way Jokic can just manipulate, you know, the offense and just bring people in to play and whatnot. When you watch MB try to do things, try to do the same things, it becomes quite clunky and quite, it's like he's thinking of it as it happens. He's not anticipating what's going on. And his defense to me, it's regressed. You know, that's not as big as advantage he was. He was 2 years ago, he was like, you know, you could not go up against him. He's batting that shit out of it. So at this particular moment, they're getting swept. They're gone. I put money on it. If they win a game, then cool.
Well, you're on the other side.
Okay.
You're on the other side.
All right, so I'll just quickly jump now. So Rod, so obviously you're the Celtics, and I know Matt's not here to talk about the Raptors, but do you see the Celtics beating the Raptors if they meet them along the line?
I think that the coach's philosophy caused when you had Hayward, when you had another dominant point guard in there, so you had 4 players, that anybody has an offense, caused the 2 young kids in Jaylen Brown and the guy that's going off right now, Tatum. If you go back 2 seasons ago when they ended up losing to LeBron in the Eastern Conference Finals, they were going at it. It was just those 2. And I think now they are comfortable enough just for those 2 to go at it, and go at it very, very well and very, very comfortably. And it's going to be an interesting matchup to see who those 2 will end up being playing against in Toronto. Okay. Yeah, you know, that's what I think is going to happen. They've definitely got the opportunity to do that. They've got enough role players. I think they're going to roll with 7 or 8 players in the mix, 2 big men. Jaylen Brown's going to play multiple positions. Tatum's going to do what he does, and I think they're going to choose him and go through him. And at that point, you know, he's almost 7 foot playing a shooting guard position. And that's what people forget about him. He's still growing. He's still that young. He's still growing. So I think that they're going to stand a good chance against Toronto as well. I think that they could do it as well. Toronto, I've got to give them their respect. They are the NBA champions.
After Kawhi.
No, they've got it. And Nick Nurse, Errol know that as well.
I was just going to say, Nick Nurse.
Already.
Catch me if I'm wrong, okay? Because it's just me watching years and years of basketball. The first time I saw a 2-2-1 press outside of National League and BBL, I don't even see it in BBL that much, except when we used to run it with Tony in Newcastle. I saw Toronto put a 2-2-1 press on the team, and I said to myself, boy, it may not be the best strategy, but when you're coming with a new strategy or a fresh strategy that works, you got to watch out for Toronto and just the coaching ability. You can look at Pascal Siakam, Van Fleet, Lowry, even Ibaka down there or whatever, because they have their system. They're gelled together. I reckon they've got a good team. But in terms of the coaching, I'm just seeing unique stuff. And I think that if you talk to coaches around the league and stuff like that, I don't think it's just because of their record or what he's done with the team this year why he'll probably end up getting coach of the year. Because I think, seriously, I'm seeing stuff come out of there that I saw in his coaching in BBL. And I know that in an environment like this, in terms of like a tournament type of environment and, really teams drilling their stuff, man, Toronto are going to be a very dangerous card to play.
I was just about to jump in and say part of the reason why Nick runs all these offenses is because these guys, who's going to double team, who's going to run a 2-2-1 press against LeBron? Who's going to run a 2-2 press against most of these players that play AAU? All they're doing is teaching them how to go to the next step. So that some of them haven't been taught this. Yes, blow finger. So... James Bond right there. Picking up the cat, started to stroke it while he's on his throne like that. I just think that the reason why Nick can do that is because he's got a bunch of disciplined guys, and because he's got a bunch of disciplined guys, he can do the presses that these guys haven't played against in the last 5 to 10 years.
That's what I mean.
It's almost like he's throwing junk out there. Just throw some junk. Just to give him a free, just to get him to think about it again, and then bang. And Errol can fill us up on that. I mean, I turned up for a pre-season at Brighton, but Errol can give you that all day with what he does.
The thing is, they're similar to the old San Antonio Spurs, where they're not going to beat themselves. You may beat them, but they're not going to make too many mistakes. They're just too well drilled. They're too disciplined. They're going to be tough to beat, I'm telling you.
Okay,
Top
cool, man. So we haven't spoke about Houston
The last one, Houston OKC.
and OKC. So Steve, I know you're a H-Town man.
Well,
Let's go.
we throw up the H on them boys. DJ, R.I.P. DJ Screw, R.I.P. Pimp C. But you know what I've got about Houston, man? I really don't know. I picked them for my team because we're betting on, because you're looking at two, you know, fireballs of firepower. But in saying that, I think I'm even giving Westbrook benefit of the doubt, because I've liked his temperament. No, I can't even say his temperament. I liked his desire and his hunger to win and his work rate. But in terms of his temperament, in terms of it fitting into a championship team, I've said it many times, they ain't going to do it. Even when it was OKC, I used to think to myself, like, man, come on, bro. Like, it's been 4 years. You ain't learned how to play the point guard position yet in order to win. I feel he just lives in his own dome. I think that after
not a point guard
career,
He's not a point guard. He's
he
just
was
a
never
scoring guard.
Obviously, he was a two guard at UCLA, but I don't even like to
Scoring guard.
categorize it like he's their guard. At OKC, he was their point guard, or the ball ran through him a lot. And what my point is, he makes a lot of decisions in order for the team to function. So if he's going, it's cool. But if he's not going, you're gonna lose about 8 to 10 possessions a game just on his erratic decisions. But in looking at this position, obviously he's not in at the moment. And I think that this is a good opportunity for D'Antoni's system to actually prevail and take them somewhere, you know, because it's ideal for how teams are playing. I don't think there's any leads that are really constant. There's been multiple teams that have been up 20, 25, and teams are coming back. So obviously teams are not playing the best defense, you know, down the stretch or in clutch times or such. And I think that plays into Houston's hands, because they do want to shoot a lot of shots. They do want to score a lot of points. They're not necessarily playing the best defense. They've lost Clint Capella. So, I mean, obviously that's, you know, that's a factor for them, but they're learning to play like that. They don't have any height. So they're banking on outscoring, outshooting, outrunning the teams. And I just feel like, will they be able to get through the first couple of rounds, maybe the first round, and will what I've just mentioned, the wildness of Westbrook, will that be able to be an injection into their team that will shock other teams to allow them to maybe even prevail to the Western Conference Finals, and then see what happens from there? But in terms, if I'm really honest, in terms of their team makeup and, you know, the selling of their system of what they're trying to do, I'm not necessarily buying it, because I've watched them down there with Daniel House trying to get a rebound against, you know, Boban, or like people like that. When it comes to the playoffs, like we've touched on with everybody else, you ain't playing fast break basketball all the time. We're going to slow your ass down, and you may be able to do that pitter-patter, dribble with Harden, but everybody else standing around. You watch the body language of some of those players when he's doing that. It's cool,
Steve, but you lot are going to play each other in the same round. You still going to, if you get in your way, Portland are going to end up playing Houston in the next round of the thingy.
This is what I'm saying.
So that's why I started to laugh.
If Portland comes past the Lakers, yeah, then
Finals.
I'm going for Portland to win the championship. Okay, but in terms of Houston, I'm just saying, just commenting on, you know, how they're looking to me at the moment. I don't have confidence in the system they're playing. They may score, they may even get out of the first round. The only way that I have any confidence of anything happening is that the return of Westbrook shocks some type of, you know, injection, some type of energy into the team, maybe throws off the other team's scouting report, and they're able to breeze through because he comes back with a fresh desire or tuned in. Outside of that, I reckon them guys are going to lose. When they do go down, they're going to go down 4-2, you know, 3-1.
I think for Houston, you know, Westbrook's going to get his, you know, leads the league with 34. You know, you know what you're going to get with Westbrook. I mean, Harden's obviously averaging 34. Westbrook, you know what you're going to get. As Steve said, it's either going to be great or it's going to be dire. I think for me, the way they're set up, their most important players are probably going to be Tucker and Green.
Jeff Green, because,
you know, he's going to come off the bench. He's going to have to play the 4/5, even though he's probably really an oversized 3. You know, he looked good in the first game, but again, it's OKC.
Yeah. We all
OKC
thought that in Cleveland,
yeah.
Paul.
Yeah,
We all thought that in
OKC have got 3 good guards and Stephen Adams.
Yeah.
So, you know, Houston should be able to beat OKC. The only problem is, you say defensively, you know, but their scheme isn't about defense. Their scheme is about, we're going to score 150 points. If you score 149, we still win the game.
That's why I said his system may have a chance to prevail in this bubble.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. And I think we touched briefly on about Miami against Indiana. I think Miami are looking pretty sharp, pretty good. Jimmy Butler seems focused on those guys.
They won this evening.
They won this evening.
Just won.
And stuff. I think, I'm not sure.
Who's it?
So Victor Oladipo, did he play today? I'm not sure if he played. Or not, but he's still not 100%. So obviously I've got Miami, so I'm hoping Miami can kind of come through. But I think Indiana, you know, I don't think they're going to, you know, not going to do much harm.
Hey, I got money on that team. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's used to talking about. That's why I'm keeping quiet.
As soon as Indiana got injured, that was Indiana pretty much done.
Yeah,
So,
you know,
got me after money.
Or give my 1250
Hey, my
back.
money.
My 1250 back.
But Oladipo, man, I don't even like to put too much. I don't even like to watch him and want him to do well, because he just ain't ready. Like, he's trying, but you can see he's just not naturally.
He's just come back from a big injury, man.
Just
come back from a big injury. You can't really look at it like that.
And they've got something on him. Yeah, no, you're right.
He's getting back into shape. For him, this is something different. I think Errol, your boy, that you picked in the part of your fantasy team, with him falling out, Sabonis Junior.
Man,
I think that affects you guys. That affects you guys big time.
Yeah,
I think that affects your team big time.
But as it stands, I think we would go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's big time, because like we mentioned for Portland, Nurkic kind of brings that energy and that kind of grit. It's the same with Sabonis, like that European kind of grit that's not intimidated by any of this kind of, I don't want to be European American, but you know, that American kind of, you know, intimidation to them. Them guys ain't feeling that. They grow up with that, and that helps. No, but what I mean is, it allows them to function in the league at a high clip, whether it be through effort or whether it be just be through intimidation. Sometimes I don't feel they're not intimidated, and sometimes they intimidate the other guys who are guarding them, thinking, man, this guy's actually, he's going hard, and that brings an edge. And I think Indiana are missing that edge.
I think you're forgetting who his dad is, man. I think you're forgetting who his dad. His dad is the reason why he's got that great work ethic. His dad is the reason that still passes that knowledge on to him. His dad is there. He may not be as big as his father was. You know, I was watching a bit about his dad, Sabonis.
I heard they had like a fight in the street, like in Rocky V.
No, it was more a case of an NBA player, an NBA coach coached him in summer. And
I'm just saying, you can imagine that relationship.
Yeah, he coached him in the league.
Man, you guard, I play Shaq. Dad, I just want to play in America.
No, you're gonna need to cut this out.
Edit.
I don't care.
It's all good. It's all good.
So as the bit I was saying was, Sabonis was a perimeter player before he hurt his Achilles badly. He was perimeter.
He was a post player that could play on the perimeter.
Thingy was saying he was a perimeter player that could play anywhere on the floor because he was taught the fundamentals. You're saying he's a post player on the perimeter, but back then, all them Eastern European, all those guys that playing in the Russian team or for the respective independent republics afterwards, they all faced the basket and shot threes. But he had both. He had it all. But when he blew his Achilles out, that was when he played the closest to the basket. And then his last years, when he was playing at Portland, they even talked about because he could handle the ball, because he could pass the ball, because they could play through him. And
that weren't even his best years.
That was his worst
Crazy.
years.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I think that his grit, I think that his son's grit and his son's determination isn't just because he's a European player, it's because who the hell his father is.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
I had major love for him, man.
And you know, the way his dad played the game, you know, he may not have the same athletic ability, and the game has changed in those many years, but he's still, you know,
true,
he's
you got to give him benefit of the crap who he is.
Yeah, cool.
It's true.
All right, guys.
I do like to give him benefit of the doubt, boy, but I want to get Shaq on TV and see why he wanted to just dominate him every single time. Old Sabonis or young, Shaq used to beast him.
Yeah, but
I'm
it was
kitchen.
irrelevant. It was irrelevant. It was irrelevant.
As far as I think this is another conversation for another day, we can just get into it and get deep and get heavy, man. But guys, appreciate it. Thanks for kind of taking your time out and stuff like that.
Sure.
Just one question I had though. From what you've seen so far and players that you've seen, who's going to get traded and make their way to the BBL next season? Who's playing that badly that they're going to come to
Ben
the BBL?
Simmons.
Well, I told you, we had that conversation when you lot looked like this. Was it Cleveland looked for Ben Simmons?
No.
Cleveland have put things in for Ben Simmons already?
What's your question, Patrice? Who's going to be out of the league at the end of the season?
No. So I'm being funny,
Oh.
but I think, basically,
Yeah.
who is going to be traded based on their performance so far in the bubble?
Oh, I think next season is a different thing, man. You've got other teams to get involved.
Hey, isn't it the draft tonight? Isn't the draft tonight? Is it tonight? So once that draft, once that draft takes place, and whoever wants to get rid of obviously the next ball, then obviously the trades will start flying in.
You know what it is?
Philly
Yeah,
are breaking up.
Thank
Bottom
you.
line.
That's what I was going to say.
Joel
I said that.
Embiid
I
and
said
Ben
that last
Simmons,
thing.
you're gone. And
The process has been trusted and been moved on.
process over.
And that Liberty Bell ain't ringing. That Liberty Bell ain't going to be rung for a while.
Cool. So Philly, it's all going downhill. Nice one. Cool. All right, guys, I'll leave it there because I know we're all busy. Got some games to watch and stuff like that. Thanks for showing that, and definitely, interesting conversation. And once again, 94 Feet Raw at the door. Everyone say peace, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Appreciate it, guys. Bye-bye.
Nice one.